Hi there, I'm Acrodynic, lead developer of Rackforms. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at PDF creation, specifically using complex templates to create PDFs. So there is one thing I just want to quickly note, which is that this process of creating PDFs from HTML is a bit finicky. I wish it didn't have to be that way, but it is. And as a really great, if not the best example of how this conversion process is tricky, I have here a PDF that is open in a very recent version of Acrobat Pro, so not a cheap piece of software by any means. And I'm going to export this as HTML. So I'm going to go to File, Save As, More Options, and select HTML Web Page. And I will save it to my desktop. The output of this operation, let me drag this over here real quick, is two files. I've got this HTML file and then looks like a folder of assets. And let's take this HTML file then, drag it into Firefox here. And you can see that it is, for the most part, completely broken. All of our formatting has essentially been erased. And some of our other items, like this date block right here, we kind of have this underline, are just simply broken. So the point here is definitely not to bash Adobe, but just to say that if even the people who write, literally contribute to the Acrobat specification, the people, in other words, who write what types of features it have and how they should work, if they have a hard time exporting from one format to the other, what hope do we have? It's not all that bad, of course, but it is just to say that this can be a finicky process. However, the good news is going from what we're going to do in Rackforms, from HTML to PDF, is usually much, much better than this. However, we do have to make sure, again, that we follow a few simple hints which we'll go over in this video. So without further ado, let's bust into Rackforms here and let's take a look at what we've actually done. So we looked at this PDF before. There's a good reason for that. It's because this is what we're recreating in Rackforms. And as you can see here, this job in Rackforms is literally just one big text block. So in other words, I went into my body text elements, I added one to the page, and because we could type HTML in body text elements, I simply created a template in Dreamweaver and pasted its HTML into this box. Now, unfortunately, we're not going to go into the actual template code, though suffice it to say that in Dreamweaver right here, we try to keep our HTML as simple as possible. You can see I use some borders, a few floats, width and height definitions, maybe a float every now and then, but that's it. In other words, if we throw lots of complex CSS at a template, the resulting PDF output is probably going to be very poor. Keep your HTML simple. As we can see, this HTML is right here. The end result, though, as we're about to see, is actually pretty darn good. So let's go ahead and publish this form right here. Let's fit the page. Make this a little bit smaller. And as you can see here, pretty darn good. So we have our format is essentially spot on. There's a few differences with font weights and size of the few elements. But for the most part, if our job was to reproduce this PDF, I think we've done a pretty good job at this right here. Now, in terms of how we actually publish a PDF in Rackforms and work with it, I just want to cover a few simple items. So the first is, in order to actually get PDF output, I select a page and I scroll down to its page PDF output options and I just say enable PDF output. Now, as again I mentioned in the beginning of the video, there is a lot of gray area here. So one of the things that you will have to do is experiment with your PDF output library. Now, by default, Rackforms ships with DOM PDF, though we can download these two freely and put them into our PDF folder within the Rackforms application. And when you do that, they become available. As you can see here, though, each one of these PDF libraries behaves slightly different. So if I use DOM PDF, you can see here that the output is essentially really bad. It's reminiscent of what Acrobat did before. If I switch it over to TC PDF, the output's a little bit better, but as you can see, it didn't respect any of our float options. However, if I use MPDF, you can see here that our output is really, really good. So that's the first real big hint, is you want to make sure that we experiment with our different PDF libraries. Of course, we also have the ability to dynamically populate areas in this PDF. So it should go without saying here that there had better be a good reason why we recreated something that already exists in PDF format. And the reason is actually pretty simple. It's because in this particular job, you can see here that we have these areas which we want to pre-fill for the user. So this health agency, address, phone, etc. We want to ask the user for that on the first page of a form and then have that populate into the PDF dynamically when we publish it. So how do we do that? Well, we use our good old tokens. So notice if I click on this Home Health Agency text field item right here and I scroll to the top under Basic Attributes, you see that I have a name value of HHA. You'll notice further here that under Home Health Agency in our PDF template, we have this F, these two braces, and HHA. This HHA stands for this form field right here, and this F stands for form field. These are RACForms tokens. F means grab the form field value from this field right here for the item named HHA. This patient name right here has FPN. So F means form field, and the PN means patient name. We just called this field PN. If we go to address, FA, its field name is A. Now we can call these fields anything we want. I just like to, as another hint here, keep my field names really short and in all uppercase so that they're easy to spot when we're working with template data like this, right? So it's very easy to see these F and the PNs and know that this is template data. You'll also notice down here that we also have this S date right here, right? So it's very easy, again, to just to quickly scan through and see, oh yeah, I have some template data right there. Now the way this works when we run the form is something like this. So you'll notice right now, because I haven't filled out these form field elements, these elements are blank. However, just because they're blank, they haven't been filled out, doesn't mean we break the template. It just means that there's nothing there. However, if I run the first page of the form and actually fill out these fields right here, some dummy information, select the 10th. If I submit this now, these tokens, as they're called, are going to go through and they're going to populate with the dynamic values of these form fields. So I'll hit submit, and now you'll notice that all of our text fields are now coming through. Finally, the last thing I want to take a look at was the basic idea of how we want to display the PDF templates to our users. Now, in this particular case, under my PDF output options, I've been just saying direct to browser. However, we also have download prompt. If I select this and publish a form as it suggests, I'll get a download prompt for this PDF. Now, this is really popular for confirmation pages, right? I want to display some PDF content to my user after they're done filling out the form. Finally, the last option that we have here is save for email output. Now, this is really interesting because essentially what this does is it will take this page right here and it won't actually show it to the user when we go to this page. We will, however, save this and send it in an email if we have our page set up properly. So notice all I'm going to do is I'm going to select save for PDF or save for email output right here. And then under my confirmation page, I'm going to grab an email item, in this case, simple email, and I'm going to check the box under include PDF file attachments. And then what will happen is I'll run this form, we'll go to this page, we'll process it, but we won't actually see it. But when we go to this page right here, we'll send it in email format to our user. And of course, if you think about that use case scenario, there's many times we want to send a contract to somebody. We don't want to show the contract right when they're filling out the form, but we do want to send it to them afterwards. And so that's why this workflow is very, very effective for that type of work. And so that's about it right there. RACForms has a lot of really powerful PDF options, but those options are meaningless for the most part unless we can actually get the format that we want. The big hint to this video was not only do we have lots of ways of displaying PDF content and populating it dynamically, the biggest, most important thing when it comes to this type of work right here is to build your template in some type of HTML editor right here. Keep your HTML simple and then just use a single text field element to copy and paste your content into. It's much easier to update the template like this, and it's much easier to maintain as well. So I'll leave it at that. If, of course, you have any questions, please feel free to give us a call. Our number's at the top of the website at racforms.com or to email us at info@racforms.com. Thanks a lot for your time.